What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
What's up everyone, it's Iskander here. Welcome back to Tech Pulse. In this urgent video, we're going to cover general crypto market outlook at Bitcoin performance as it's currently breaking out. I must admit we've been stuck in this boring range for about a week, which feels like eternity. And I thought it's timely to post this video as Bitcoin is at 96,000. So in today's show, we'll cover general crypto market, where we are, short-term targets and targets for 2025. As always, anything we say in this video is not financial advice and for education and entertainment purposes. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video. You can join our free Discord group via the attached link. So I've got the Dubai token 2049 up on screen here. There'll be a lot of coverage of this particular event. It's the largest crypto event any given year. And it generally creates a lot of hype, a lot of interest. All the major projects are there, like Sui, Ethereum, obviously, Bitcoin. All the influencers are there, like Raoul Pal, politicians, etc. So there'll be a lot of news and hype coming out of this, and hopefully that's gonna bring things up again in the coming weeks in terms of price performance and general market sentiment. So just quickly switching to crypto bubbles for a minute, we can see again we've got AI back on the board. So Virtuals FET, it's like a mini AI season. There's a lot of Virtuals ecosystem tokens pumping as well. We can see hype there. We can see Casper is up again. Go Casper. Sui is up. So overall a green day, which is great to see. Now let's look at Fear and Greed Index. It's a fantastic gauge of the overall market sentiment. So we're at a halfway point, right? So we're neither here or there, which explains that sort of boring period that we've seen in the last week or so. And given Bitcoin is showing some real strength, it's curling up. We'll look at Bitcoin price in a second. I think we're going to start going back into greed. But yeah, that's something to watch, particularly as things really hit up, taking profits before we head back down, or buying the dip. If we get back in the red, when we were at 15 on March 11th, right? That was incredible. That's as low as I've seen from 2021 bear market lows. Now, are we in altcoin season? No, we're not in an altcoin season. We're in the Bitcoin season, which is what the score indicates. Low means Bitcoin, high means altcoin. You can see on the chart. The more we push into the blue, that means money is flowing out of Bitcoin into alts, and that's when the real fun begins. And to be honest, we haven't really seen altcoin season, a proper season like in 2021, in the last 2 years of this bull market. So we've had some really good Bitcoin and I think Ethereum, largely Bitcoin inflows in the last few days. So just looking here in terms of open interest, liquidations, it's relatively steady. RSI is neutral, and we're in the Bitcoin season at this stage. So this shows the flow of ETF funds into Bitcoin. We can see we've had 8-9 positive days, which is great. Volumes increasing. Sailor bought 1.5 billion just recently. iBid, BlackRock's been buying a lot. They're the largest wealth manager globally. So let's look at Bitcoin price now. We can see it's at about 96 and it's got some overhead resistance here, so we just really need to break here. It's at a sort of 50-point mark. We've broken that down sloping line, so now hopefully there'll be more, multi-million-dollar buys from ETFs, from general equities market performing, going up, which generally then Bitcoin follows suit. And so it's great to see, and you can see the moving averages underneath there. Now, to get a proper gauge of where we are in the cycle, you really need to understand the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is shown here. Since November, December 2021, which was the bear market low, we've been trailing up, right? So Bitcoin's becoming an institutional asset. Obviously, its price been appreciating, we haven't really seen much retail enter the market. That's why we haven't really seen alts go that much, right? So Bitcoin's been really the main asset to hold. Even though it looks overpriced, it is still making more money holding Bitcoin in the past. That was the strongest asset in the last 2 years. But that being said, obviously we've had some really strong alts like Casper and Sui and others, which appreciated a lot more against BTC. So dominance, again, it's peaked at 65%, close to that. Are we gonna stop here? We may have trail even a little bit higher, right? So there'll be some overhead resistance here. It really depends whether retail enters the market, whether we get rate cuts, whether equities and global money supply continues to increase. Then and typically what happens, obviously everything flows into Bitcoin, and then once it peaks and it has that sort of parabolic run right at the top, that's when people start to take profits and investing back into alts. That said, I don't believe alts will see a full-blown alt season. You need to be selective this time, because digital assets it's become mainstream. Policies and regulations are being developed globally, and it becomes a difficult game to pick the right coins. So now looking at gold, which has been absolutely pumping since October 2023. What it's done, let's have a look at its performance. What is that? 100%. That's incredible. It's gone from 10 trillion to a $20 trillion asset or more, and obviously due to the tariff wars, people were flying to safety, which is gold. That usually happens during times of uncertainty. And now what's good to see is it's finally breaking down. I'd like to see it come down further, which means people are now taking, markets are stabilizing, equities market has stabilized, less uncertainty, so people are selling gold again and buying risk assets like crypto. So now looking at the DXY index, dollar, global dollar index, US dollar index, that's also an indicator for crypto and where it's heading. So you can see in the price cycle, it's gone down significantly during the pandemic period, what that means is, when your dollar loses strength, that means people are diversifying out of US dollar, holding less cash and buying assets like gold, equities, and further out into risk curve like crypto. So hopefully we'll see, I'm not sure if we're going to see a 10% drop, but continued correction down. Now looking at Ethereum, obviously Ethereum's been hitting the balls so many times, and it's just been lost, right? There's been no real traction in terms of the blockchain. It can't compete with Solana. Liquidity has been drained or flowing out of Ethereum into Solana, into Sui, into other projects, and that's been really hurting Ethereum. So they need to really rethink, reset, and make this work somehow. That being said, it'll, money will still flow into the second biggest asset. Where we may end up by end of this year is somewhere in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. We may not even get there. It really depends on if they can get Ethereum image, brand, and sentiment up again, and liquidity flowing back into ETH, and same with ETFs, then we might get there. And this is a conservative target too. If ETH doesn't go up to that level, what happens to altcoins? Well, it doesn't mean that ETH has to set new all-time high for the money to then flow into alts. Money can still flow into alts, like we've seen with XRP, legacy coins, Cardano, and others. They can still run independently. So that's something to watch out for. And then lastly, we've got the total market cap, crypto market cap, right? So in December 31st, sort of mid to late December, we hit a new target of 3.74 trillion. Then there's been massive correction, obviously, up until now, and then we're beginning to head up. So you can see that was the leg up. We can assume there'll be a similar leg up somewhere between 5 and 6 trillion. Again, speaking conservatively, if you look at the prior cycle from early 2020 to the peak, others, which is excluding, that's total market cap. It's gone up by, about 13x. So in this case here, we can assume, we'll get at least half of that, or a third, conservatively. Others are calling for 9 trillion, 12 trillion. I think that unless we see really, positive macro news, the Fed stepping in and, reducing rates massively, liquidity flowing, I'm not sure if we're going to get there. And then lastly, on the others chart, which excludes Bitcoin, Ethereum, this is effectively all of the alts. We can see that we can, an ideal target from here on will be to get to that $1 trillion mark, and that's a 3x. So can you imagine if you're holding, in the top 100, whatever it is, the strongest coins, like Casper, like Sui, Tau, there's many others, even memes like Pepe. I think that's going to be, huge profits on alts. So that's it in terms of the total overall market update. I'll try and do more of these on a weekly basis, particularly when there's some major news, market making a major shift. We'll jump on and we'll talk about what's happening. Thanks for joining, and please subscribe to Tech Pulse. My name is Iskander. See you later.